Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. Today I want to talk about, in lieu of the Stephon Tuitt news that he will be retiring from the NFL, looking at some of the internal guys who will be poised and tasked to replace him. And obviously people want to look at external names, and I get that, and we can talk about that separately, but I'm primarily focused on the guys who are already on the Steelers' 53-man roster because that's the group that'll be needing to step up the most, more so than some 30-plus-year-old journeyman who's going to try to come in and play 1 or 2 years in Pittsburgh. And so today I want to talk about second-year defensive lineman Isaiahh Loudermilk, drafted in the fifth round last year, and what he has to do to step up. He'll be one of those guys playing key roles and obviously still seeing a lot of snaps this year because Tuitt's no longer going to play. And I thought he made strides. Loudermilk did as a run defender last year. Still work to do there, getting stronger overall. But as a pass rusher, to me, is what will define how high of a ceiling he has. Can he be more than a rotational run stuff or a base end, a 4-eye, 5 tech, things like that? And he recently spoke about needing to improve on some things as a pass rusher. So today I want to look at some clips from last year and talk about where he can and frankly should and need to improve as a pass rusher to be a complete player in 2022 and beyond. So we're going to go through a ton of clips here throughout the season, and I get some of the early clips we'll show are some of his first NFL snaps, and so things always get better. But there were issues recurring from season start to season end, and so we'll look at week two against the Raiders. And frankly, I'm not even going to really run through this play too much. I just want to talk about stance in terms of how a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman, for that matter, aligns is subjective. There really generally isn't one clear answer to me in the way that I've heard a lot of coaches talk about it. There's structure to it, of course, but it's generally whatever you're most comfortable in that still allows you to be effective and efficient. But I watched Loudermilk here early on in the season, and that stance did not really feel like a great pass rush stance. And this is empty set here, so you know it's a pass. There's no even thought about being a bit more square for a potential run play. You just see how tight, how close together the legs are. You don't really have 1 foot back. Compare that to Cam Hayward, who kind of has that left foot back a bit. That's going to create some more power for him to really explode off the football. Loudermilk's a little bit more square. I don't really see as much maybe forward body lean. You see Hayward looks a lot more comfortable. Loudermilk looks a little tall and tight and just kind of stiff overall. And so you just don't get that great explosive first step off the football. And so I don't know exactly how Pittsburgh teaches it. Carl Dunbar to me is a very good defensive line coach, but I just looked at some of those stance issues and thought maybe that right foot should have been staggered a bit further back. That'll really allow him to explode off the football rather than this more square stance where you're not going to get a really good jump here. And that was just kind of a consistent thing from the start. I'm not really too focused on the rush, although it's not all that successful either. But just looking at stance and where the pass rush starts, it starts with your stance. And I think Loudermilk has some work to do there. Now looking at week three against the Bengals, and again, similar thing, a much more square stance to me than where Cam Hayward is aligned, where Chris Wormley is aligned. And again, I don't know the exact reason for that. That could be what he was taught or what he did at Wisconsin and what he was most comfortable doing. But I don't love that stance to begin with. And I think we'll see a little bit later in the season. He may have changed that a little bit. But post snap here, going against the left guard, Quentin Spain was pretty good for the Bengals last year. I'm just running this thing through. Lattimore, losing pretty quickly here on this rush, and just in particular, the way that I think Carl Dunbar teaches it is, as a run defender, you want to create space between you and the offense lineman. You want to be able to get your arms mostly extended, nearly locked out, but usually a little bit of give because you don't want to be fully locked out. But you want to have space against you and your blocker so you can keep vision on the football and shed effectively. So you want space in the run game. As a pass rusher, you want to eat up space. You want to reduce space. And so you get into the guy's chest, and whenever you shed, there's no chance for that offensive lineman to recover. And you beat him immediately as soon as you shed him if you're eating up and reducing that space. On this rush here for Loudermilk, you see all this space created. He tries, I think, a little bit of power here to get into Spain's chest, gets rebuffed and kind of moved backwards here. And you see a lot of space here between the left guard and Loudermilk. And to me, at this point, it's really hard for Loudermilk to win this rush because with how quickly the ball comes out in today's NFL, unless there is a scramble situation or the pocket collapses or this quarterback moves or there's just amazing blanket coverage in the back end, when an offensive lineman has this kind of space here, he's really in control of this thing the whole way. And so you want to eat up and reduce that space. And you see Loudermilk, he tries initially here, but just kind of gets blown back a bit here, maybe lacking some of that great strength or strike and placement of his punch overall. And so, whenever an offensive lineman has, some space to work with here, because that ball's coming out in 2 to no more than 3 seconds typically, you're not going to win in that rush. So, being able to reduce that space with a better strike, with a better punch, is going to be really critical for him going forward. Something you would expect a lot of rookies to potentially struggle with here, just timing the snap and being explosive, especially when you're A, not this super athletic guy, and B, your stance is kind of hindering maybe some of your explosive potential. You want to be quick off the ball. And you saw Lattimore, be a tick slow. And comparing him to an all-star and a veteran like Cam Hayward is tough to do, obviously. But you see on this play, Lattimore is a lot slower to react off the football than Hayward is. Now Hayward's closer to the line of the football into the center snap hands. Maybe that helps him a little bit, but still, you want to see a better key and jump here from Loudermilk. And again, if you're not going to win early for a guy like him, you're probably not going to win at all. So we'll look at the aerial view here and just compare really this whole defensive line, even Chris Wormley at the top compared to Isaiah Loudermilk shaded opposite against the left tackle here, or again, as Chris Wormley is against the right tackle here. And you see a lot of milk just a bit slow. You see these guys a lot quicker off the football. Comparing him to an edge rusher is tough to do, but even against Wormley, I think Wormley timed that snap a lot better. And so just being able to key the ball, I don't know exactly what their key read is. Is it the football? It's probably more the inside knee of the lineman or one of the knees of the lineman. It's probably going to be their coaching point there, but just being more explosive and quicker off the ball is going to be really important. And we'll watch Tyler Boyd break a bunch of tackles on route to the end zone, which is a memory I was trying to forget. There's an idea pass rushing that you want to attack half man, that you want to attack either inside a man or outside the blocker and not really attack down the middle. If you attack the middle, you're running into the core of him and it's going to be a lot harder to win. So obviously the bull rushes and things like that, that those may be exceptions, but just watching Loudermilk here week 12 against the Bengals against the right guard on this play, just really kind of attacking down the middle. What is that pass rush plan? It's hard to say, never really gets into that control. Does try to reduce some of that space, but the guard really locks on and wins early. And I thought Loudermilk lost early in a lot of pass rush chances last year because he didn't really have much of a great go-to move or a plan or a hand use and strike and things like that. So watching this thing through again, that stance pretty square here. Maybe anticipating run, but you see the hands outside, they're low, the guard's into his chest. He's got leverage, he's got power, and so he has control. And Loudermilk, all he can do is try to get his hands in the air to potentially bat the pass down. Did a decent job of that last year. I want to say he had 4 or 5 deflections. That's something that the Seals defensive line has been really good at in years. Cam Hayward's, to me, the SWAT king, the best in football, maybe second behind J.J. Watt, but just no plan, poor hand use here, and just overall gets swallowed up. In this example, Lattimore going to slant from A to A gap. So he starts here between center and right guard. He's going to slant down into the opposite A gap between left guard and center. And I just don't see a great punch and a great strike here. He's trying to club and rip through. So he's trying to club the center initially and then rip through. Just never really gets a good punch. And maybe slanting there hurts him a little bit trying to accomplish that. So maybe there's a little bit of grace to be given here. But you try to see the punch of this right outside hand here, just really a really weak slap overall. That is nothing to turn Hopkins or knock him off balance or stun him or anything like that. And so the rip move at this point is going to be really effective overall. He barely even tries to pull it off here, and he gets just really kind of swallowed up here very easily on this play. You compare that to Cam Hayward, who showing power here, kind of getting into the chest early, does get some separation there, but then is able to kind of go with a quick bull to rip through the left guard on this play, and he's able to get to the quarterback. Obviously, the ball comes out at this point, and another highlight for the other team with T. Higgins on a long touchdown. But you just see some of the power, the strike, the quickness. Hayward, stringing together moves. Lattimore really trying to do both here, and he's not able to. Moving on now to week 14 against the Vikings. And I mentioned a little bit ago in one of the earlier clips that I think by year's end, Loudermilk had begun to clean up that stance a little bit. And here's a good example of what I'm talking about. You're seeing more of a stagger here. You're seeing more of that back foot creating separation. He does have this tendency, though, and I don't know if that's just kind of the way he gets into a stance. That back foot's back, and then it kind of comes up a little bit. I know Hayward does similar thing here. That not a great stagger here overall, but I think the stance changed a little bit to be a bit more offer at least some more potential for power and not be quite as square as he was early in the season. So that's not the issue on this play. The issue is, and you'll see it from this view, is Loudermilk uses or attempts to use a cross chop, and that's something that is taught by Carl Dunbar. They'll go through drills. You watch them at training camp this year. You'll see guys go through the bags and they'll work on different moves, and you'll sometimes see that cross chop. And basically, you can tell a cross chop happens. You'll see it here on this play, obviously. But if a guy leaves both his feet, and both are off the ground, usually means you're trying to use a cross chop. You don't see guys leave both their feet and their power generators that often. But trying able to chop here with the inside hand on this play, and that's not going to be his game. He's not someone that's going to win with a cross chop. You're going to get some of the edge rushers who can do that. T.J. Watt can do that. Alex Highsmith can do that. Those are probably the only two guys on this team who should be trying a cross chop. For Loudermilk, he's not quick enough, not athletic enough. That strike's going to need work overall. To me, I know it's probably taught and you work on it in drill, so you want to try to use it in a game, but how are you going to win? You have to kind of ask yourself, what are my strengths? How do I win as a pass rusher? And is a cross shot going to be the way that I beat a right guard? And that's not going to happen for Loudermilk. So I think that's one of those moves you just have to really put away, not use, and focus on what will be more effective for you. Maybe it's the bull rush, maybe it's a swim, maybe it's the rip move and things like that. And so I promise you, the cross chop is not going to be the way that Isaiah Loudermilk gets to the quarterback. And a little side note here: he's going against current Steeler Mason Cole at right guard in this game. But a lot of ways you can win as a pass rusher. For Loudermilk, cross chop should be crossed off the list. Also, as I mentioned, top of the video, Loudermilk, one of his big overall keys and missions and areas of improvement in year number two is just getting stronger, and that's going to help him. Obviously, with his run defense, and we're talking upper body, lower body as well. Maybe gaining a little bit of weight. I don't know exactly what he played at last year. He came into the league at his pro day. He dropped down to 274 for some reason. I don't know why he did that. I assume he played much heavier, probably closer to 295, 300 last year, but maybe even add some more weight. But you want to just get stronger overall, regardless of weight added or not. Tries here against the center against Cleveland in Week 17. This long arm, and that's something that Cam Hayward is to be the best in football at the bull rush, the long arm. You're just not going to get as much power here. And again, I understand Loudermilk is not going to be Cam Hayward in year number one, nor in year number two. But you do want to focus on being able to not be rebuffed and have that center anchor installed, that pass rush and that bull rush there so easily, and maybe even bring that second arm. Trying to rush with one arm for a guy like Cam, he can do that. For Loudermilk, looks like that left arm, I should say, kind of gets locked up and kind of grabbed by the center here, and so you lose some of that power. And so just getting stronger overall. I really think for Loudermilk, he's never going to be this supreme athlete or this great finesse pass rusher the way that a Stephon Tuitt was, but he's going to be someone that can collapse the pocket, get your hands up in the air, and get your hands in the throwing lanes and be disruptive that way. That's got to be the way that he wins. So I'm not too focused on him. You want to have some finesse moves, obviously, and not just always rush with power. But I think primarily the way this guy's going to win is by being able to collapse the pocket and then late in the rush you shed and get to the quarterback and take him down. Last example we'll note, and this is just kind of my speculation, but the way that offensive linemen seem to play Loudermilk late in the year, once they got a bit of a report and some film and a book on him, a lot of short, aggressive sets. So they really wanted to get hands on him early because Loudermilk lost early in rushes so often last year. And so watch the left guard here, short set him, jump set him here, and really win this one from the get go. So compare the different sets here, right guard versus left guard. You get hands early on Montravius Adams as well, but you really see a short set here from the left guard. Is that solely because of Loudermilk? That's hard to say. Obviously, I don't know exactly how the Browns are coaching things. I know for Pittsburgh, new offensive line coach Pat Myers going to really teach, and you're going to see this quite a bit this year from the Pittsburgh Steelers interior offensive line. You're going to see a lot of short, aggressive sets with hands on and trying to make, in Myers' words, quote first significant contacts are really a big coaching point for him. But you just kind of saw, and I saw this in other clips as well, but this one illustrates it well enough. A lot of guys short setting and getting hands on Loudermilk early, and once they did, they won the battle basically 95% of the time. So being able to have some more power and threaten that may cause guards to be a little bit more conservative in how they set them. So that's where Isaiah Loudermilk is at entering year number two. I thought overall he had a good rookie season. I know the numbers for Pittsburgh were so historically bad with their run defense, but I was overall pleasantly surprised. And, I thought it was a good year one for him given the difficult circumstances that, he played in, being a rookie, playing more than what the team probably wanted or expected him to do. But I think, again, when he was drafted, I knew he'd be a good run stuffer overall, kind of the Travis Kershke, Nick Eason type of guy, but the question with me has always been pass rush ceiling. And can you be a sub package player and work in nickel and work in dime? Or are you going to be just a base defensive end that's going to limit your upside and snap count and things like that? And so, can Latimer get to that level is the question for him. It's going to be a really crucial one in 2022, especially without Stephon Tuitt. And so that really is going to define where that ceiling is at between backup rotational base end and someone who can be more of an every down player. And so those are the things he has to work on: his stance, his explosiveness, his pass rush plan, finding out how he wins best, not using moves that don't work for him, not attacking half man, and things like that. And so all the things we talked about in this video will be things I'll be watching for in year two for Isaiah Loudermilk. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon.